Should be 9-0 because he's got a good matchup here, and he is playing lands. Now, what's interesting about lands is it's not a deck that a lot of people play. It goes, truth be told, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, and there's a lot of oddballs, and you know, there's the Tabernacle of Pendrel Veil, which is a pretty pricey card. A lot of these cards do not have overlap in other decks either. So, you know, you're buying Rashad Ports, they don't go into a ton of other decks. You're buying Mox Diamonds, you're buying Gambles. It's a pretty narrow deck to build.
But if you looked at the results of the Season 1 Invitational, especially the legacy portion of that tournament, I think of Jason Coleman, a player who made the top 4 of that tournament. He played lands. He went 7-1 with that deck. Another player went 7-1 with lands, too. It was one of the best performing decks in the legacy portion of the tournament. Given that so few people played and you saw a couple 7-1 records with the deck, it seems to be pretty well positioned in the metagame.
Yes. And has a very good Delver matchup. Now, Teamer Delver can be a little tricky because Nimble Mongoose occasionally sneaks through your defenses.
That's a real pain.
But you'd still happily play this matchup.
It is a real pain. That's the one thing that really messes with you is Nimble Mongoose. You know, if a game goes late and there's Nimble Mongoose just kind of chipping away at you. But, you know, nowadays, as we're going to see a Force of Will on this Mox Diamond here by Boswell, you know, what the land deck didn't have before that it has now is that it can actually just kill someone quickly thanks to Dark Depths and Thespian Stage.
Yeah, you get to block for one turn, untap, and kill someone.
Yeah.
And that's a big boost for this matchup in particular.
And we mentioned how Boswell's kind of learning how to play the Teamer Delver deck, even though he's off to a really, really good start. You have to wonder how much he knows about this particular matchup, what to counter, what not to counter, because now there's a gamble on the stack.
Well, he's read the first 2 spells Blake has put on the stack.
Yep.
So.
And lands isn't a deck, you know, you talk about people testing Legacy. Hey, you want to test a Delver Mirror? Do you want to test Delver against Storm or Miracle Mirror or whatever? Does anyone ever go, hey, man, I got a deck you want to test against lands?
Yeah, next to Dredge, it's the least tested against deck in all of Legacy.
Yeah. No one's spending their Tuesday night testing the lands mirror or Delver against lands. I'm good.
You want to test the lands matchup? No, I'm good.
I'll just hope you draw bad, I guess. Right. Maybe not.
I don't know. I've got like a Surgical Extraction in my sideboard. I'm sure that's okay, you know?
Yeah.
We'll call it a day.
So Boswell might be doing a little guessing here during this particular game. The gamble is resolving now, so Blake will have to discard a card at random. One of my favorite Magic cards, Gamble.
Where name meets function.
Yes. Let's roll a die. Lose that card. What did he lose? A Wasteland. A great card in this matchup. But it looks like he gambled for an Exploration.
And that was actually an honest gamble. That was one where he's gambling for a spell he actually wants to cast and he's rolling the dice. Usually you see people just, well, they're gambling for loam and they don't care if it goes to the graveyard. But that was an honest man's gamble.
See if we're going to see loam this turn. Blake, a very nice gentleman. He'll give Andrew a life to cast a life in the loam. Looking to get back a Wasteland. For Boswell, what you're looking for here is you need to get a clock on the table real soon.
Yeah, Boswell's already swimming upstream. He's going to have to fight over loam pretty much every turn of the game, or close to it, especially with Wasteland as one of the cards that Blake is looping.
Scalding Tarn the draw here for Boswell. He'll play one of those Tarns. See if he wants to brainstorm this turn or not.
I mean, he can wait a little while here because he's not vulnerable to Wasteland just this moment, but time is not on his side. He's got to find something soon.
The longer he waits, the more that Blake gets to do this. Not the best stretch here with a Mana Bond, a Life in the Loam, and a Grove of the Burn Willows, but they'll get better. The deck is full of lands.
It was only a matter of time. And a second colored source of mana isn't even all that shabby for Blake right now because he probably wants to, at some point, cast Loam and Exploration in the same turn.
What I liked is that Blake was very patient last turn by not casting Exploration into Spell Pierce because Exploration is a big deal.
Yeah, he can wait now until he just makes his land drops and casts it on Natural. If Boswell's not putting him under any pressure, he can wait and just make his land drops and eventually get the Exploration to play.
Loam's going to resolve. It'll get back over the Burn Willows. That'll be the land that's played. We'll see if Blake continues to demonstrate the patience. Looks like he's going to try for the Exploration. I don't love this. It's kind of incongruous with what he did a turn ago.
I think that what Blake is trying to do here is just get for Boswell to get all land he can Wasteland next turn. I still would have preferred to wait a little bit longer here because if Boswell's not doing anything, you don't have to rush. But part of this might be motivated from Blake's side of just making Boswell get a land that he can Wasteland.
There's a drop.
Or Port. You know, when Boswell's lands are all fetch lands, it takes a lot of the sting out of Rashad Port and Wasteland. So Blake might just be trying to accelerate to the finish line of that part of the game.
Fair enough. There's a Brainstorm in response by Boswell, so he'll draw 3 cards, of course, put 2 back, and he's got a Scalding Tarn in play to make it a good Brainstorm. Daze and Flutterstrand among the cards he's picked up. Two cards will go back here for number 11 on our Season 2 leaderboard here on the Open Series. Looks like Boswell's going to use the Daze. Maybe. He's also looking at that Spell Pierce. Blake doesn't have a lot of cards in hand, but he doesn't need them.
Yeah, Loam is everything.
Yeah, his hand is his graveyard.
And he knows that Loam is going to be uncontested this game. In the long term. Boswell's going to get spots here or there where he can counter it, but it is only a matter of time.
There's Volcanic Island. Right here's Daze. So I'll take care of Exploration. Now Boswell will draw for his turn. Picked up a copy of Tropical Island. Still no clock. You can see his hand. It's all reactive. That's not where he wants to be in the matchup.
And once he starts running out of fetch lands, then the Wasteland and Ports just doom him.
Yep. There are 18 lands in Boswell's deck. He's got 4 Wastelands. He's got 8 fetches. And he's got the 3 Trops, the 3 Volcanics. There's Wasteland number 1 here for Blake. Blake's stretches have been abnormally bad.
Yep. But
and yet he's still okay.
Exactly.
There's a Stifle. Gonna cast Alone to try to get back the Wasteland.
This is bad news for Boswell, and it could be a lot worse.
Yeah. Now for Andrew, you got to find a card like Tarmogoyf. Some sort of pressure. Delver Secrets will work.
Yeah, the problem is once the Loam gets going, then Maze of Ith starts being a player, and
Yep.
Nimble Mongoose is really the card you want.
Yeah, Punishing Fire becomes a player now too on this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Boswell's thrilled to have something going. He needs to start attacking, but...
There's a Dredge. There's 3 lands. Dark Depths, Tranquil Thicket. That's a little better there for Sanford. He's going to cast Loam now. Looking to get 3 cards back. Little Ancestral Visions. Wasteland's 1. Thicket is 2. Depths is 3. So that's resolving. See how Blake wants to move forward. Play Wasteland. There's Punishing Fire. This is where it gets bad.
At this point, Boswell is drawing very slim. It's Tarmogoyf and Nimble Mongoose. Nothing else in his deck really matters.
Certainly isn't Lightning Bolt. That's for sure. Time to dredge. 3 more cards here. Exploration is 1. Maze of Ith is 2. Glacial Chasm is 3. Lance is doing its thing now. And Blake is going to give the Boz a lot of life. But it's not going to matter too much.
And with Wasteland and Port here, Blake can just stun all of Boswell's mana until he eventually finds a Thespian stage to pair with the Dark Depths.
Yep. You know, this is part of the reason that people love Legacy. Kind of unique decks like this.
Yeah, it's off doing its own thing. It's a strategy with no analog really in Modern or Standard. And it's only because of the depth of the card pool and all these bizarre, pre-Mirage cards that a deck like this can exist.
I played this deck for a little over a half a year back in the early 2000s, and some of the most fun I've ever had playing Magic. Assuming that making your opponent not being able to do anything is fun.
It just depends how much, sometimes Legacy has moments where people are getting locked or you see turn 1 Blood Moons and you wonder how do people enjoy this, and it's just the depth of the format and the fact that if you don't mind the bad games, there's a lot to like.
Blake going to cycle a Tranquil Thicket here. We'll see if he actually wants to draw a card or replace his draw. He's going to replace his draw with a Dredging of Life in the Loam. So Rashad Port, a Gamble, and a Maze of Ith are placed into the graveyard. Life in the Loam goes back to the grip.
With Legacy, all you have to know is what am I getting myself into? And if you know what you're getting yourself into, the games are really fun.
And Dredge again. Gamble is 1. Dark Depths is 2. Thespian Stage is 3. That's what he's looking for.
I mean, you can still just keep Boswell in the sleeper hold here with Voids and Wastelands.
Yep.
Doesn't have to make a move. Doesn't want to. And these Temur Delver decks only have 6 lands in them that produce colored mana. There's 8 fetch lands and 4 wastelands. So if Blake doesn't want to risk anything, he can just use Port to tap down the fetch lands, force Boswell to fetch, wasteland them away.
See Loam's going to resolve here. Tranquil Thicket, the Thespian Stage, and a Wasteland come back. Stage will be the land that he plays. Looks like he's setting up for the Dark Depth skill now.
We saw last round where Blood Moon rendered someone's spells uncastable. And then this is the other way of doing it, which is you to remove every mana-producing land from their deck. Different strokes for different folks.
Indeed. Time to draw a card. No dredge necessary. Drew a copy of a basic forest. There's Dark Depths. The only thing Blake has to worry about now is Stifle, and that's only temporary.
Yeah, with Loam, he just has access to everything. His graveyard is an extension of his hand.
Boswell will draw a card, play a Scalding Tarn, pass the turn back. Boswell may be waiting for his inevitable doom here. Thespian Stage is going to be activated. Going to copy Dark Depths, which means that you lose the Dark Depths, then you lose the Thespian Stage, and as a result, you get a 2020 Avatar token.
Yep.
How about that?
And Boswell not playing a deck with Swords Plowshares, so
2020 is real good against him, and most people. So it looks like things will be completed here in a moment. I think Blake looking over his hand really quickly here. He'll draw a card instead of dredging. Attacking for 20 sounds like a good idea. Boswell's down to 8.
the old Jerry Thompson token.
Haven't seen it for a little while. Makes sense why Jerry would pick that one, though. So much success with Dark Depths and Extended many years ago. Rashadenport. Pass the turn back. Boswell will draw. He'll pass the turn back as well. Boswell not willing to concede the game. Got to make Blake finish him off.
That Reed Duke school.
Indeed. Porter's going to go after the fetch lands. They're both tapped. Boswell just says, please kill me. I'm not going to concede. Just get me for 20. There we go. Boswell's going to take a look at the graveyard. Once he gets some information, this might be a new deck to him.
Yeah, I mean, there was some reading early on, and the lands deck often plays some bizarre one-ofs, and it's just good to just read all the cards.
Yep.
Take a once-over.
See what something unique like Glacial Chasm does.
Right, that's another just odd duck from pre-Mirage Magic, which is just a different animal than post-Mirage.
Mana Bond might be a little bit new to Boswell. That's a card that takes his deck from 0 to 60 when it's in play. Exploration is good. Mana Bond can be great, as Boswell will lose game number 1 here to Blake Sanford. Lands up a game here over Temur Delver, an ideal pairing here for Blake.
Yep. I mean, this build of Delver is a little bit more harrowing for lands than, say, Jeskai or Sultai, because Nimble Mongoose can sometimes sneak through your defenses after you have the game mostly locked up, but still a great pairing.
Time to see what Boswell's got in the sideboard. I've got in front of me of 2 Graph Digger's Cage, 1 Sulfur Elemental, 1 Ancient Grudge, a Hydroblast, a Flusterstorm, a Pyroblast, a Red Elemental Blast, a Life from the Loam, 2 Spell Snare, 2 Submerge, 2 copies of Rough Tumble. You're not going to find a lot of hate for lands here.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 copies of Spell Snare are okay at the delaying the inevitable Life from the Loam engine. Early on the game, if backed up by some pressure, it's pretty nice, but There's not a lot to like here.
Yeah, you're not going to find anything like a Leyline of the Void, a Tormod's Crypt, even a card like Surgical Extraction, which is sometimes seen in these sideboards. So it's going to be a rough road ahead here for Boswell.
Yeah, on the other side, Blake with 2 copies of Thorn of Amethyst, 2 copies of Seismic Assault, 4 copies of Crow's Hand Grip, 4 copies of Sphere of Resistance, a Dark Depths, a Caracas, and a Pithy Needle. I like bringing in the Dark Depths in this matchup because Boswell just has very few answers for a Merit Lage token. It's possible that Blake will bring in the Sphere of Resistances and the Thorn of Amethyst. They are mostly for combo matchups like Storm that are really, really bad for lands game 1 because you're slow, you don't really have much interaction. They are okay against Boswell, especially backed up by mana denial, but Blake may just go ahead and present pretty close to the same 60 he had game 1.
Well, we will talk very quickly about the Star City Games YouTube page, as we'd like you guys to head that way. If you've never been there before, subscribe, get some awesome content. Some you'll find on the website, some you won't, including our Versus series.
Exactly. The Versus series goes up there. Premium archives a month after they're posted on the premium side become available for free on the YouTube page. And there's some content exclusive to the YouTube page, like unboxings. Over youtube.com/StarCityGames, become a subscriber today. Costs you nothing. There's a lot of great content up there.
And of course, the Open Series archives are very popular over there as well. You can watch the Players' Championship from last year, any of our Open Series or Invitational events, heck, even the Grand Prix too that we do cover, like Grand Prix Charlotte, that'll be happening a couple weeks from now. So youtube.com/StarCityGames for more information about it. The unboxings are especially cool. Brian Braun doing, Chris Van Meter, Brad Nelson, Todd Anderson, they all take part in that stuff. Cracking open some old boxes, see what they can find.
Some good action, mostly some bad action.
You're going to crack a lot of bad rares, but
Right.
that's kind of the fun of it too.
It's another big step forward in Magic design over the last 5 years. Just a higher percentage of the rares. They aren't necessarily pointed towards tournament level play. They aren't necessarily powerful, but they're attractive designs.
So what you're saying is that you would not want to crack an Alabaster Leech nowadays.
This is Magic's most depressing rare. Because a lot of Magic's bad rares, you know, people point to Sorrow's Path, they point to One With Nothing. At least those Carnival of Souls, at least those cards make you go, what could I do with this? Most bad rares allow you to have that moment. Alabaster Leech, this is depressing. So for 1 mana, I get a 1/3. All right, well, I might be interested. I don't know. What's going on in the text box? Oh.
White spells that I play cost 1 white more.
It's such a bad design too, because it's, you know, it's encouraging you to cast it on the first turn because it's 1 mana.
Yep.
And you lose the game if you cast it on the first turn.
I don't know if you win the game any turn that you cast it.
Yeah. This is Magic's most depressing rare. They don't make them like this anymore.
This might be the worst. Everyone says Sorrow's Path is the worst rare of all time. This might be one of the worst rares of all time.
I can come up with situations where Sorrow's Path is productive in the game. It's obviously really bad. Wood Elemental as well. You get to destroy all your lands at the same time. Sometimes it's randomly a big creature. I don't know. This thing is so depressing.
It's a 0%er. When would this be good?
Like,
Someone on Twitter tell us.
If you open this up as your first rare, you know, you've been watching Magic, you've been hanging out with your friends, they play, you're getting interested, and you say, you know what, I'm going to go to my store, I'm going to buy some packs, kind of just check things out. Maybe I'll try to build a deck. And you open up this one. Whew.
Well, Carnival of Souls isn't much better.
Well, you can actually build combo decks with Carnival of Souls.
That's true. Look at that man on that picture. That's one of my favorite parts, actually.
You can build decks with Kobolds in this card, and that's actually an engine of sorts.
Whenever a creature comes into play, you lose a life, thank you, and add a black to your mana pool. This was back when there was mana burn.
This plus Skull Clamp plus Kobolds is an engine. That's a deck you can build. So at least this card's bad. Obviously, this card's very low in power, but there's a deck you can build, and you can try to think of other combinations of cards.
I do really like that this was printed, and it's like really bad, but it got you to think about if it was good. But also, it's like, what if this thing is good? That's just a horrible case scenario.
It is in Urza's Destiny, which is a set chock full of busted cards.
Yeah.
So it's not bad to have a stinker here or there. You know what also appears in that set? Which is another card that's, what are you supposed to do with this instead of something busted?
What's that?
Donate. Same deal. Turned out you could do some busted stuff with Donate.
You could do some good things with Donate.
But in a sea of treacheries and powder kegs and Masticores and Academy Rectors and Yawgmoth's bargains, a couple stinkers were called for.
Oh, thankfully. Blake did take a mulligan. He's on 6 cards. Boz is on 7. He's going to start with the Scalding Tarn. He'll get himself a, Tropical Island. See if he can get up to a more aggressive start this go-around. Nimble Mongoose would be a great place to begin things. So would Delver's Secrets.
Got to get something going. Time is not on his side. And
there's a Delver.
He can't even win the fight really over Loam in the long term, even in the post-board games.
Yeah. Mox time in the draw here for Blake. There's a Forest. Here's a Mox. Let's see if this will resolve. Last time it was countered, it does resolve. Discard a land. That Mox now taps for any color of mana, which will allow him to gamble. We'll see if this is an honest gamble or a life in the loam gamble.
This one's getting a Loam, I think.
I think you're right. Yep, there's a loam. This is a dishonest gamble.
Mm-hmm. That said, it's hard for honest gamble to show up in competitive Magic decks.
Well, some are saying that you should actually be donating the Alabaster Leech to your opponent.
They might not be playing white.
Yeah, that's the problem there. Yeah, that's the issue.
Now you roll in what, the Laces or something. Maybe there's a deck you can build, but
What do we discard? Crop Rotation.
so that's a cost. Crop rotation is very powerful in these kind of openings.
Yeah, for sure.
Allows you to get to a fast combo. So Blake has his Loam, but he had to pay a cost at least.
Let's check for a Delver. Spell Pierce is nice. That can counter a loam for a turn.
And sometimes it takes lands a while to get the ball rolling. You know, they fumble around for a little while. So if Blake can't defend himself, if he doesn't have cards like Maze of Ith, and Andrew can play the tempo game against Loam, that's the kind of recipe that Delver needs to win this kind of matchup.
Scalding Tarn will be sacrificed. Boswell going to dig out a land here. He'll get himself a Tropical Island. We might have Tarmogoyf as a follow-up. And then Boswell's got a little clock going. He's got something brewing here.
Tarmogoyfs can be a very fast clock against someone who's dredging a bunch.
And there's a Goyf. So now you've got your aggression. Now you just try to put your shields up as best you can. Spell Piercing a loam might seem counterproductive, but you can hold them off just long enough to get the job done.
It's not getting better in the late game.
That's for
So
sure.
if you got to be casting it early. And when lands doesn't have exploration or mana bonds, it can play a pretty slow development game, and the soft counter spells can be great.
A loam is being cast targeting Dark Depths, trying to get that Dredge Engine online. Wondering how big the Tarmogoyf is here. You got an instant, a sorcery, and a land in the graveyard, so it's going to be a 3/4. And now loam is going to resolve. It appears.
Yep. Crop rotation's an instant. Gamble is a sorcery.
Oh, 3/4 is the perfect size. Lands are going to be in Boswell's graveyard no matter what, so. There's Exploration. That's a big one to resolve.
And if Boswell can fight over this, I think he should.
Doesn't appear that he can, though. If he had a Daze or some sort of free counterspell, I would fight over this. Here's a Mox. Discard that Dark Depths, pass the turn back. Blake, no cards in hand. He's all in. He needs some good dredges here.
I think that Blake actually should have opened up on the exploration earlier, because to catch up in this game, he needs the exploration to resolve. It's the most important card in his hand. Fortunately for him, Andrew couldn't contest it, and now if Blake gets some good dredges going, he may be able to come back in this game.
It's a Ponder here from Boswell. He's going to shuffle. Did not like what he saw. So we'll see if he can find something nice to do.
But at this stage, every counterspell that Boswell finds for Loam is extremely valuable.
Yes. Mystery card coming from the Ponder. Volcanic Island, not all that exciting. One of the Volcanics will be played. In for 6 comes the Boz. Sanford down to 11. Sanford going to predictably dredge. It's drawing 3 cards, which is what you're doing when you dredge with this deck, is better than drawing 1. Maze of Ith, Punishing Fire, Grove of the Burn Willows are the cards that have been turned over. Dark Depth's already in the graveyard, too. That's pretty good dredge.
That's not a perfect dredge, but it is close. Being able to get back Maze of Ith here is awesome, as that answers Tarmogoyf, and then you have Punishing Fire ready alongside Grove of the Burn Willows for the Insectile Aberration. That was the type of dredge that Boswell was really hoping to avoid.
First things first, Loam's got to resolve. Saw Port go after the land, and now Spell Pierce is going to take care of the Loam, so Blake guessed wrong there. Take a draw. Tarmogoyf has been picked up. Here's an attack for 6.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the Port there was attempting to accomplish here. And now, even the fortuitous dredge of last turn may not be enough.
Here's a dredge yet again. Yeah, if he's worried about some sort of 2-mana counterspell, that's why you do that, I suppose. But if he just casts Loam, it gets Spell Pierce twice there from Boswell, and he's probably still going to end up losing the game because Loam's not going to resolve that turn. But I'm not entirely sure what porting does there.
Right.
And now you see the Loam. It looks like it might be too late. If he does cast Loam, he gets back a Grove, a Maze, and likely Depths. Plays the Maze, plays the Grove. Can pick up the... So he can do enough.
He can get Maze into play and be able to Punishing Fire the Insectile Aberration this turn.
Correct.
If everything goes right,
Yep.
he can survive next turn at least.
He's got to get Grove, Maze, X. X can be Dark Depths, X can be Wasteland.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't impact play this turn because
Correct.
the lands that are getting played here are Grove and Maze.
The problem is that if you see Boswell's hand, he has a Spell Pierce to mess all of this up. He also has a Hydroblast, too.
And the Hydroblast may be good enough because countering the Punishing Fire this turn will allow him to apply lethal.
Yeah, but also piercing this is good enough, too.
Yeah, Boswell's got multiple routes to victory with the cards in his hand, and Blake has no cards in his hand, so he's just making sure that he doesn't mess anything up on the board.
Boswell going to let this resolve. Boswell can also just pierce the Grove.
Yeah.
Or pierce the Punishing Fire.
Multiple
That's also
routes.
fine. Yeah.
Multiple routes to victory.
Punishing Fire going to come back as Boswell did gain a life. He'll use the red mana. Now we'll get our counter spell. There's a Spell Pierce there.
Mr. Patrick Byrne.
Blake is looking at his Wasteland.
Stage, please.
And he'll shake the hand there and get ready for a third game. So the Boss able to tie things up. Really good draw there for Boswell that game.
Yeah, and you see that the recipe from Boswell. There's some matchups where you want a lot of pressure and a little bit of disruption. There's some matchups where you want a little bit of pressure and a lot of disruption. This is one of the matchups where you want a lot of pressure and a little bit of disruption because in the long term, your disruption does very little. Yes. It can keep Blake off balance for a while. You saw that game, eventually Blake would have gotten his shop set up. You know, if the game is played over an indefinite timeline, if Blake has 100 life, let's say, eventually he locks that game up. So it's very important for Boswell to have threat-heavy hands with a little bit of counterspell, but not too much.
Well, we will talk about for the first time this weekend, actually a change we made. It's called the change to our buy list, where we talked about this in the Season 1 Invitational. It's kind of where we unveiled things. I've actually been clicking around there, too. This is a huge change on the website.
Yeah, this is a lot better than the previous buy list, which was just control Fing through a bunch of sheets hoping to find the card you're looking to sell. Now you can head over to the buy list, punch the card you're looking to sell. You can modify for foil, non-foil, condition, language, whatever the case may be. This will expedite the process when you're selling the cards to the website, as you can just mail all your cards in with this list instead of having one of our buyers go through it. Also, if you show up to one of our events, you can just hand your stack along with your list over to one of our buyers instead of just sitting there waiting for you to count the whole thing out. You have to be registered for the website to check out the buy list, but you should be doing that anyway. You can head over to starcitygames.com/buy list and just check it out. Even if you're not looking to sell anything right now, it's worth kicking the tires on because this is a huge improvement over the previous buy list.
One of my favorite things when we do coverage is when the viewers chime in on Twitter. Julie Knabb is certainly quite good at this, former Bizarre. Mox champion. Loves elves. Got to see him last year when he came across for Grand Prix New Jersey, and then the Open Series when we were in Richmond. And he has chimed in on what his favorite terrible card is. Patrick, are you familiar with the card Bargain?
Bargain. Just bargain?
Just Bargain.
I feel like that's a horrible black card drawing spell.
Close.
But I cannot remember what it does.
Very close. Portal, I believe. I believe this is the portal symbol. We'll see. I think we have Bargain available, actually. Well, here you are.
I was wrong. What a deal.
For 3 mana and 7 life, your opponent gets a card.
Yep.
It's really nice of you. One could argue it's quite the bargain.
Yeah, this is not a well-named card.
And I don't believe this is a rare. I'm not entirely sure if this is a rare or not. I'm pretty sure it's not. Blake's going to take a mulligan here.
Yeah, this is great.
What exactly is the art there? I think that's a goblin with something.
Phil Foglio's artwork was very cartoonish.
Yes.
Very cartoonish. Magic's current art, there's very strict standards. There's a style guide. Everything kind of has to conform to a particular style. All Magic art is just a free-for-all. Put whatever you want on there.
What a card. What a card, I tell you.
Pretty good with... It's a sorcery. It's not even good with Spirit in the Labyrinth. It was an instant, at least you could try to get him, you know?
Chris Pikulik chiming in on Twitter. He is watching Andrew Boswell on SCG Live while drinking out of an Andrew Boswell coffee mug.
Oh, Andrew Boswell is a potter.
He is.
Not literally a mug with Andrew Boswell's face on it, though I guess that's possible.
You don't know what the mug looks like.
Right, I don't know what the mug looks like.
You don't know what Chris asked for.
A mug of Andrew Boswell made by Andrew Boswell would be pretty great.
That'd make a lot of money, actually.
Yeah.
We should probably get in talks with him about that.
We had the idea first. Everyone heard it.
It's on tape. Don't steal it.
Yeah.
See if Blake 6 is better here. Remember, Blake's on the play.
And sometimes lands can get hands that just don't involve loam, and then it's just a hand full of lands.
Yeah, it can be ugly sometimes. This is a deck that does mulligan quite a bit. Now, you are playing a lot of copies of loam with actual loams, and then, if you're playing a Burning Wish version or just a lot of gambles. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the time you're playing a deck that does have 8 loams, but you have to have a loam to operate. If you don't have a loam, you're playing a really bad deck.
In this matchup, Ports and Wastelands can still win a percentage of the games, but it's hard without loam.
It feels like to me that Blake's hand doesn't have a loam, and I think that's why he's thinking so long. Like, this looks like a double Wasteland hand that he might have.
Yeah, gonna get him.
All right, he's gonna start with a port. Now, of course, he can draw a loam.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in day 2 of our
But a lot of the time, people mulligan the loam. We'll see how this works out here for Sanford.
9 a.m. I suggest being here.
Boswell going to sacrifice Flood Strand. He's down to 19.
Looks like he has Maze of Ith as well. I feel like this is a hand with enough going on that Blake can keep 6.
Tomorrow's 5K Premier IQs. Standard is at 9 a.m.
Anthony Lowry chiming in. Bargain and Notion Thief. What a deal.
That is a deal.
That is a deal.
Finally, if you still have your playmat voucher, we are still redeeming those tonight.
Get them on both sides.
Indeed.
I suggest getting that out of the way. We'll be up here until
How to turn bargain into reviving dose, I guess. Just takes a little work.
Here's a ponder. See if Boswell's going to keep here. Nimble Mongoose among the cards. Nimble Mongoose, the best threat that Team Delver can bring to the table.
It's subtle, but this is a dangerous opening for Boswell because your fetch lands are at a premium. When you're playing against Rashad Port and Wasteland, your deck doesn't have a lot of lands in them. So when you want to play, you want to fetch and go get a Tropical Island and cast a threat, that's fine. If he's willing to risk it over a ponder, that implies that there's something wrong with his hand.
Yeah.
Especially against an opponent who's already put a port into play. This is a recipe for Boswell to get locked out of mana altogether on his main phase very soon.
See if that mystery card is from the ponder here. Spell Snare. Pass turn back. Sanford, we're going to get a Wasteland.
Get him!
You're glad Legacy's back, aren't you?
I like this from time to time. Ooh, get him back!
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have any other lands.
Yeah, what else you doing? Holding that for Tarmogoyf? No, you're not. Just get him right back.
Show that lands deck who the boss is.
Yeah.
Boswell's thinking about it. Never too quick to act, though. Thinking about maybe keeping it for the Tarmogoyf if he's able to draw another land. Some patience here from the boss. Sanford will draw.
Boswell's hand is likely to get forced here because I think his Wasteland is going to get ported.
I think Sanford just drew the best card in his deck. There's a port, however. He'll port you. Tap down your colorless resource. Do you want to fire the Wasteland off now? All right, yes is the answer. Boswell draws a card. Timely Flooded Strand Peel.
Make it count, because you're only going to get this once.
Tropical or volcanic? That is the question. It'll be a tropical. There's a Nimble Mongoose.
It's the best thing Boswell can do.
He made it count. Taiga.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, he might not fire it off.
Yeah, he might port him this turn, and then next turn Wasteland plus cast a spell. Yeah. Or he can Wasteland. Good either way.
So, Boswell draws this time. It's just a stifle. All right, Nimble Mongoose, giddy up, let's go. In for one. He's one card away from Threshold.
And he has to discard a hand size soon.
Yep.
Just takes care of itself.
Whatever it takes to get there. However, it's a Taiga and a Life in the Loam here for Blake. He's going to get to pick up 2 Wastelands and a port. Though Boswell might force this. Get card 7 in the graveyard?
Yeah, I think he just needs to get this to 3/3 as soon as possible. And he's probably going to end up force of willing a Loam at some point anyway.
Yep. There's the Force Will, removing a Flusterstorm since he can't cast it.
I like removing the cards in Boswell's hand that have a mana cost, because those are going to be really hard to cast this game.
Stifle the draw. In we go. Blake is down to 16. Let the race begin. Boswell will pass the turn back. Sanford going to take a look at the Mongoose.
Can't maze it. That's the important thing.
Time to dredge. 1 is a Mox Diamond. 2 is a Mox Diamond. 3 is a Gamble.
Juliana Turova to the main event
Time to
stage,
cast Loam.
please.
Get back those 2 Wastelands and a Schadenport.
He has Depths plus Thespian Stage rolled up here as well.
Yep.
Got a very good hand and a lot of time. And an opponent with no lands.
This is right where you want to be at the end of day 1 if you're Blake Sanford. Those are the 3 lands that he got back, 2 Wastelands and a port. Boswell going to record that information. There's a stage, pass the turn back.
And I like this from Blake. My plan, if I were him, just get Thespian Sage into play with Dark Depths. If Boswell finds a land, stop for a turn, Wasteland and report him, and eventually he'll have no mana, and you'll be able to do this uncontested.
No land there for Boswell. Stifles are offline. Blake just draws a card. There's the Dark Depths. You do it right now so you don't have to worry about Stifle.
Yep, love this.
That's exactly what he's going to do. There's your 2020. Boswell will untap and take a draw, but I don't think we're going to see any more turns here for Andrew.
Ooh, a land.
He did draw a land.
Lucky.
Yep. But it looks like it's 1 turn too late.
Make it count.
Yeah. Do you have Unsummon? Vapor Snag?
Void Snare.
I don't like the no attack there by Boswell. You have to go out on your own terms.
Exactly.
I will say that much.
I know it's indestructible, so it's a pretty easy block.
It's a safe block, to be sure. It's a safe block, to be sure. Blake Sanford is going to win this match 2-1 over Andrew Boswell. We have our 9-0, folks. It is lands at the top of the standings after day 1.
Yeah, congratulations to Blake. This deck very good against creature decks. You saw it on display there. Game 3 was a little harrowing there, but Andrew kept a land light hand, and if you keep a land light hand against ports and wastelands, that's just going to happen to you a percent of the time.
The matchup is tough for Delver. All of them. All the Delver decks it's bad for. You know, I think the Teamer Delver deck actually is probably the best of the